Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how are you doing this week?
I am doing great. How you doing, Eric?
I am fantastic. We are preparing for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And
Prior years, I'm not going to be having 20 people over this year like I usually do because we're usually the hot spot for our family, but it's just going to be myself, my wife, and our oldest son coming up from Jersey because our youngest son is a teacher and has to quarantine down in Stanford with his wife and almost 1-year-old baby, our granddaughter. So it's going to be strange, but we're going to make the best of this.
It'll still be good. We always have to remind people that even in 2020, there are things to be grateful for. Focus on those. And as a quick note to our listeners, I'd like to remind you that if any of you are using Zoom, the free version to get together with families for Thanksgiving, Zoom is lifting the 40-minute limit. So you can use the free account to be with your family for as long as you want.
That's wonderful. We will be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, this way you can be together even though you're physically distant. All right, so we've got a special guest this week. I'd like to introduce Jennifer Ganley, who is founder of the AFMS Foundation. Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. So to start off, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what the AFMS Foundation is?
Absolutely, my pleasure. AFMS Foundation stands for Advocating for Families with Multiple Sclerosis. It is a 501c3 not-for-profit that was established in August of 2019. And our mission is to provide financial support and medical advocacy for patients and families with multiple sclerosis right in our greater Hartford area.
Fantastic. For our listeners who aren't familiar with it, can you describe a little bit about what multiple sclerosis actually is?
Absolutely, I can. Well, multiple sclerosis can affect each person in different ways, but the true definition of what it is it is a progressive disease, and it involves damage to the myelin sheaths of the nerves in your brain or in your spinal cord. And when this happens, symptoms can be numbness, patients can have impairment of speech, muscular issues, blurred vision, and severe fatigue. And the way that we best explain it to keep it simple is it's almost like if you have an exposed electrical cord and then you have an animal at home that maybe chews away at that electric cord, and then you notice like a short circuit and something isn't working the right way because that cord has been chewed through. So that's exactly what's happening in the brain and the spinal cord. Our nerves are covered with a myelin sheath or coating. And when a person has MS, their body is attacking that coating and almost eating away at it, which then makes for issues transmitting signals as effectively as it should from one part of the body to the other.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have MS, correct?
I do, yes. I was diagnosed in 2012 with relapsing, remitting multiple sclerosis. So when I, think of all of the symptoms and all of the hallmark signs, and those are things that, for me, I battle daily, which kind of also was the motivating factor behind starting this foundation.
And can you take us through your state of mind when you got your diagnosis?
At first, when I got my diagnosis, I was terrified, and I have a family member who's not blood related, who has had multiple sclerosis for decades. So all I knew growing up was, watching Susan and seeing her progress. in her MS diagnosis, watching her health decline, being in a wheelchair. So that was my first thought, was since she was really the only person I ever knew with it, that was how life was going to be. So as anyone with any diagnosis, you let yourself have your moments. And I think I was very quickly made to realize from my neurologist that, in 2012, a diagnosis like multiple sclerosis has come so far, that the outcome doesn't have to be so grim for so many people with the right medications and lifestyle changes. But yeah, I was definitely terrified, and I would be lying if I didn't say that there are still some elements of that fear every day, because it's a chronic, unpredictable disease. So there are days that you wake up and you just don't know what you're going to get, and you don't know if it's MS related. You don't know if you caused it to happen. Did you do too much the day before? Are you worrying? So yeah, it's a pretty frightening diagnosis. But again, to your earlier point about Thanksgiving and finding some silver linings in 2020, I mean, for me, there have definitely been some silver linings and some true blessings that have come out of this diagnosis. And I've been able to get myself into a better space where I can kind of find the good in it and try to pay it forward to others.
And obviously your foundation is doing exactly that. Obviously one of the best things you can do is publicize what's going on, and really share your fight with everybody else that's out there. And obviously Eric and I are very, very motivated by our good friend Ray Charpentier, who's been doing this for years. So God bless you for doing this, and you sound fantastic.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'd like to talk a little bit about how you made that pivot. Through my work with Ray and the support info go, I've worked with a lot of folks with MS, and unfortunately, I've dealt with a lot of people that never get past that fear or that idea that now they're disabled, they can't do anything. What was the pivot for you that made you realize, okay, you know what, I'm always going to have this little nervousness about the whole thing, but it's not going to control my life, and I'm going to move forward?
That's a really good question. I'm not going to get choked up, but the answer is so simple. It was becoming a mom. I think that, for those listeners that have children, they can relate. And for those that don't have children, they can still absolutely relate, because we all have something in our life that motivates us. So for me, my husband and I welcomed our daughter in December of 2013. So, just a year after my diagnosis. And that for me was really that turning point, where I recognized a few things the minute I became a mom. I recognized that it wasn't really about me anymore. And that, with every breath that I take, I have to do everything that I do for my daughter. So she just very quickly got my head into a space where I wanted to make decisions that would keep me healthy. I wanted to make decisions that would keep me strong and fun. And I wanted to do everything for her and still continue to. And I want her to look at me one day and just realize that anything is possible, and that, the people that think they can't accomplish things, that they've created those own boundaries and limitations in their head, that, everything is possible. So I don't know if I would be the way that I am today had it not been for the amazing blessing of our daughter, but she's absolutely, a year after diagnosis, what helped me just put my best foot forward every day and fight really for her and for her future.
Yeah, Eric, obviously we talk a lot about the law of attraction and positive mindset and so on. And it's just amazing that obviously it was no accident that this happened. And it's just so wonderful. And I think I just mentioned that I'm a new grandpa. My granddaughter's going to be 1 year old next month in December also. It's just amazing how they grab control of your whole life and your whole psyche and everything else. So that's just so wonderful. And
exactly. And whether it's a tiny human or a fur animal or a spouse, I mean, anything, but I do feel like, everybody on earth has their reason why they do something. And sometimes you have to look a little harder to find it. But for me, on December 20th, that was very obvious what my reason why was, and she keeps me going every day.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I love that. And especially since you're talking about you're focusing on somebody else and you're not focusing on your disease, or as I prefer to say, medical condition. Disease makes it sound like it's communicable, and multiple sclerosis is not communicable. But through my work with Ray, Ray Charpentier, who is my business partner in Support Info Go, he has multiple sclerosis as well.
Mm-hmm.
He has been off all medication and he's actually been improving over the past several years. The doctors have looked at it and they said they cannot determine why he's getting better, but they just keep telling him, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. But one of his doctors actually told him, it's because he refuses to give up. He refuses to say, that's it, I have MS, I'm just going to, sit down and let it happen. He keeps himself busy with Support Info Go. He goes around doing presentations about MS. And it's that focus on others, not himself, that, really pushes him. And the doctor actually believes that has halted the progression of his MS.
Awesome.
So, it really is important that, folks with any medical condition realize just how much control they can have over it. Just by, focusing and taking care of themselves, and doing what needs to be done. So let's get back to your foundation. You said your mission is to financially support families with MS. How did you come up with this, and what is the foundation doing to move that mission forward?
Well, we came up with this because we spent from 2012 when I was diagnosed until 2018 partnering with another organization to raise funds for multiple sclerosis. And we were just really blessed, Eric. We had a really strong community of donors. Our team raised a lot of money over the years. And I guess I just got to the point where I was so proud of how we came together for the MS community that selfishly, I kind of wanted to be the one that had a say where the money went, and to actually feel inspired that every dollar was going directly to benefit patients with MS. Obviously every organization that's out there has its own unique, approach to what they're doing. And having come out of an almost 20-year career in pharmaceutical sales and med devices, I guess I just in my heart felt like there's always going to be funding available to fund science and for research and for hopefully a cure and better medications. But as time goes on, I felt like there was a little bit of an unmet opportunity just to immediately impact patients right in our backyard that need it most. So what we're doing, we partner with a couple of local MS treatment centers. Right now we work with the Mandel Center in Hartford, and we are also starting to work with the Hartford Healthcare Neurology Center as well. And their clinical teams come together and they talk about the patients that they're treating and maybe some unmet needs for those patients. It can range from compression stockings all the way up to handicap controls on a vehicle. We've done that for an individual, wheelchair ramps, air conditioners. So the great thing about our foundation that really differentiates us is that we're kind of trusting the vetting process that these medical institutions have in place, in that if they come to us with a need for a patient, we know that it's trustworthy and the need exists. And it's really nice to be able to act upon that need really quickly without the patient having to wait weeks for a response. We also, as of today, do not have any sort of form grant process or income earning restrictions for patients. We just really believe that our mission is to help these patients live their best and safest quality of life that they can, whatever that looks like for them. So it really kind of frees up the formalities that a lot of other foundations have about using their funds to assist patients, and it allows us to get kind of creative with how we help them. It allows us to have a little bit of fun, and we really get to connect with our patients one-on-one. Once they have given that HIPAA release consent and it is approved for us to speak with them, it's just so rewarding to hear how a $200 air conditioner that they couldn't afford in the heat of the summer can make such a big difference. And it's so inspiring to me to hear some of these patient stories, and to also realize just how blessed I really am. So with the work that we do every day, unfortunately, multiple sclerosis has me in a position where I did have to resign from my career and find something new, which I put all that I had into AFMS Foundation. But I really feel like that's what I was put on this earth to do, because the stories and the relationships and the patients that we've been able to help have just been absolutely so inspiring.
Fantastic. And just to clarify for our listeners, you've been talking about air conditioning. Just so our listeners know, multiple sclerosis actually affects the patient's ability to handle heat. So where most of us, even if we don't have an air conditioner, can deal with 90, 95 degrees, for a patient with MS, that can actually be incredibly debilitating. So just having an air conditioner is a very big deal.
It is. That's an awesome point, Eric. And we've also noticed, what I love about AFMS is we've been able to take some of our unique experiences, things that have made my life, our life, a little bit more tolerable. So whether in the summer, obviously air conditioning, but cooling towels and neck fans and different essential oils to help keep cool. When I birthed my daughter, I had a really hard time opening and closing her car seat in the summer because, to your point, the heat can be really physically debilitating. So my hands just weren't strong enough to even open and close the buckle on her car seat. And there's this wonderful company out there that makes a car seat key, and it's this plastic adapter that you just put right over the car seat when you want to open it. And it takes very little strength, and the buckles come right out. So it's been so wonderful to even be able to connect with new parents with MS, and be able to offer them something like this, a small plastic device that will help make their life so much easier, as it did for me. So just in conversations with people too, when we learn that they have MS and we think of ways that our family has been able to live a little bit better life, AFMS also loves to pay it forward and, gift those patients things that we know will help them so much.
Yeah, and when I went online and did a little bit of research, I went to the Facebook page that explained everything that you're doing, and you're launching a website very soon, correct? And a lot of this information is going to be in there to help people out.
We are launching our website on December 1st, which is Giving Tuesday, and we thought that would be the perfect day to kind of launch everything all at once. We've had a really successful almost year and a half. We just needed to get the finishing touches on the webpage, so we're really excited. It looks awesome, and I think it will be a great resource for patients, and also just a great way to create awareness about the work that the board of directors and I are all doing.
Yeah, and that's something else I want to bring to our listeners' attention, because I still meet people who are unaware of Giving Tuesday. And this was created a number of years ago as part of expanding that Thanksgiving weekend. So you have Thanksgiving Thursday, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, which now Cyber Monday is sort of blending into Black Friday because Cyber Monday was originally became a thing because people would wait to shop online till they got back to the office where they had high speed internet. Now high speed internet is common in houses, so Cyber Monday is sort of merging with Black Friday. But a number of nonprofits and corporations decided, you know what, that's a lot of emphasis on spending. Let's do something about giving. And they created Giving Tuesday. And it has been around for a number of years. And I have seen through some of the nonprofits that I work with, Giving Tuesday can be their biggest single day gain of donations. And you can give directly to the nonprofits. You can go on Facebook and find them, their websites. So when you're gearing up for the holiday season, think about the nonprofits that you want to support and give something on Giving Tuesday. Help them out, especially this year. And I want to talk to Jennifer about this in just a moment, but 2020 has been a devastating year for a lot of nonprofits. Donations are down, so anything you can do for your favorite nonprofit, please do so. And that brings me to my question to you, Jen. How has 2020 affected AFMS Foundation?
You know, because we had only been in this since August of 2019, thankfully we didn't have any annual events or traditions where we had to step away from them this year. So I actually think that has been a benefit for me because it's not like I have to say we always do this big fundraiser every November and now we can't do it. So we don't have anything. We're not in a good cadence yet with big events, which has been good for us because we can't do them. So despite not being able to do those, we have still had a really wonderful year fundraising. You know, it's been a tough few months since COVID, but I actually think that people since March have become a lot more charitable. I think that, you know, a global pandemic makes everybody kind of sit back. And again, a common theme today for the three of us talking is to realize, you know, some of us just have so much and so much to be thankful for. And if you're going to pick a time to help those who need it most, this is absolutely the time in our life to do it. So I'm excited for the world to get back to some sort of a new norm where we can do in-person fundraising events, because I think that just brings everybody so close together and the camaraderie feels so good. But we haven't yet been able to plan any of those. And obviously, you know, they're to be determined based on where the future takes us. But we're looking forward to doing them.
No, I can imagine. And as you mentioned, the world is a much better place in a lot of ways just because people are paying attention to what they need to pay attention to these days, throwing out our little petty differences about this and that and realizing that we're all in this together. So that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you're early enough in the game. One of the nice things about Giving Tuesday is that oftentimes you can get sponsors that'll match donations and things like that. So that there's a big incentive to actually give on Giving Tuesday to your favorite nonprofit. I'm wondering if you have any of that going on this year. I'm sure you're going to be looking forward to doing that at some point in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I have not thought of that this year, but so now I have how many days? And now you're going to give me like hours of work for myself, because that's a great idea. So open to any suggestions. That's awesome. And, you know, the one thing that I will say with running a nonprofit and also having a disease where, or a medical condition where I have to pace myself is, you know, I just really do have to be careful how much of myself I put into what I'm doing, because it can jeopardize my health. So we've kind of had a philosophy of keeping it simple. And again, because we have such a great support recognizing the work that we do, we've been able to keep it simple, and we've not had to say no to any patients that need us. But that's something that, you know, come next year, absolutely we will look into. And if you guys have any advice, I'm open to it. That's a really great idea.
Now, if you have any corporate people who work for companies right now that would be able to do that kind of thing, and you could reach out to them and see if they want to get involved with the matching thing, that might be a good place to start. Your existing supporters, because they may be at
Absolutely.
a business that might want to help you do that. And it doesn't have to be 100% match, but just something, an incentive for doing that is a great way to go.
And especially this time of year too, I've noticed a lot of businesses that instead of doing holiday gifts for their employees, they're making donations to local nonprofits because they know that that's where their money is better spent. So maybe even wrapping something like that into Giving Tuesday kind of could be a 1-2 punch there. That would be awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do, and hopefully as the organization gets older, you'll be able to take advantage of all of this. One last question before we start wrapping up. Can you tell us a little bit, what have been the most common requests that people have made of the foundation?
The most common request we've gotten is, believe it or not, for shower grab bars. So suction cup grab bars that will suck to the shower walls and stick to them, and they hold anywhere around 300-400 pounds of weight. I think that since we got up and running in August of 2019, we've probably purchased 30 or 40 of those for patients, just so that they can safely shower. Also ties into the heat, because if you're in the shower for too long and the water's too hot, every now and then you can kind of feel a wave of fatigue come over you. So that has been the number one most requested item to help keep patients safe as they independently go through their activities of daily living.
Excellent. Yes, multiple sclerosis affects the patient's balance, so that a shower can turn into something very difficult. And that's something that I want our listeners to understand. It's not just about the condition itself. It's about adapting the patient's daily life to be able to deal with all of these little curveballs that they get thrown. So we're just about out of time. If somebody wants to get more information about the foundation, how can they do so?
Yep. So they can go to www.afmsfoundation.org, which will be up on December 1st. Right now it's open for donations. And they can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at AFMS Foundation. And all of my contact information can also be found on there as well.
Excellent. So, Chip, what do you think the big takeaway for this week is?
Well, first of all, it's just wonderful meeting you, Jennifer. You are very, very inspirational. And to me, the power of positive mindset, unconditional giving, gratitude for what you have. I mean, you speak the whole thing with your daughter and everything that you're doing and giving back. You're just going to attract that back. So God bless again. And best of luck with what you're doing. And whatever we can do to help you out, we're here for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I think the big takeaway for me is that you can adapt to just about anything life throws you. A lot of it is just your mindset. If you put your mind to moving forward, to dealing with what life has tossed you, you can make great things happen, like you made this foundation happen. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It was a real treat. I appreciate you both.
You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.